How's it going, everybody? DB Sports back with another video. Currently, it is 9:40 at night, which means it's about 20 minutes from my bedtime. But we're dedicated to getting you the best quality content. So I had to call in a very close friend of the channel, or rather, a very new friend of the channel, rebranded. Tom Manning Burner is gone. It's all about Nate Scheelhaase Burner. Nate Scheelhaase Burner, everybody, joining the show. Nate, how's it going?
Good. In the middle of the Pitt Mississippi State game,
Oh yeah,
and
oh
deciding
yeah.
I want to win that. Leaning Pitt right now, but I'll take whoever we get.
It is a tight one. 35-34 at the half. Very back and forth. Both teams getting some good looks. Both teams going back and forth between long scoring droughts and scoring at rapid paces. So exactly what you'd expect from March Madness. And we'll dive a little bit into that matchup with Iowa State in just a little bit. But first, we're going to just kind of go over the entire bracket as a whole and just kind of give some initial thoughts on everything. We'll start in the South. That is the Alabama region. Nate, does Alabama have any competition here?
I really do not think so.
Okay.
Maybe Arizona eventually, but that'd be Elite Eight time. Um, I really think they will run through. It's a pretty. I don't see Virginia being that good. It's hit or miss. Baylor's hit or miss.
I
I think
think
it's a pretty weak side.
I think that potential round of 32 game, that Baylor Creighton game, I think that
Yeah,
if that happens, that could be the game of the tournament.
I agree.
Both of those
They're
teams,
very similar.
both of those teams can score very fast and a lot. uh, could we just play first to 100 in that game? Could we just no time limit, just
Right?
first team to 50, we call it halftime, and then just go to 100 from there, and then just call it good.
Yeah, it'd be
I
fun.
I will say my initial reaction was I actually had Virginia beating Alabama in the Sweet 16. I don't. There's just something about Virginia in the tournament either loses as a 1 seed to a 16 seed. Shout out UMBC. Or they just go on an unbelievable run and make the Final Four. So I
Yep.
don't think they lose to Furman. So that just means they have to go to the
I
Final
would hope
Four.
not.
So,
That'd be bad.
but I actually do have
Style.
Arizona initially in the Final Four from this
Yeah.
region. I do have the people that know me and close friends of mine that do bracket challenges with me know that I pick Arizona an ungodly amount and it never works out. So I can't wait to be proven wrong once again. But I just always pick Arizona.
I am real. I've always been high on them too.
so so consensus is probably Alabama. There's some sneaky games in here, some potential, but I think that generally people would say this is just kind of Alabama's region to lose. So let's move on. We'll,
Yep.
we'll save we'll save the Midwest for last because that's kind of where we're gonna end this show. So we'll go down to the East, the other left half of the bracket. Purdue is the one. I think this is the shakiest 1 seed. I'll be honest. I've probably watched 2 Purdue games this whole year. uh,
They are.
am I
They.
wrong? Am I wrong? Is that
Oh, I don't think you're wrong. They are very. I don't know. I can't get a touch on Purdue. I really can't.
I,
It's,
I
it's a
so
hard.
So I think I'm higher on Zach Edey than most people. I think a lot of people are just like, oh, he's big, and that's it. Like I think there's definitely some parts of his game that I like, but I'll be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Purdue games. I couldn't name another player on that team, and that's probably a bad thing given that they're a number 1 seed, and I'm supposed to be a sports guy. But I just I don't see it with Purdue this year.
I don't either. They look almost like they go and I don't mean this in you should be confident in your ability to win games, but they almost go in and are like, oh, we're gonna wipe the floor with this team in
Right,
a way that's not in a bad confidence kind of way, if that makes sense.
right.
I think they should be more wary of. There's some good ass teams out there. They're toe to toe with you. Even just because you have the best or national player of the year on your team doesn't mean that you're just gonna run through everybody.
Right.
So
And
I
they
think that they.
go for it.
I was gonna say they seem to get punched in the mouth and not always know how to respond. So they're young. Braden
Right.
Smith is a freshman they have that he's good, but they definitely have some younger guys in that team. So
I tell you what,
that could come into play in March too.
if you want to avoid getting punched in the mouth, seeing Memphis FAU as your potential second round game is not what you want to see.
Correct.
That should not be an 8-9 game.
No, it should not. FAU is really, really dang good this year. 30-3, probably Coach of the Year candidate over there. So it was impressive from them.
Oh, 100%. And Memphis is going to be coming off that high after absolutely curb stomping Houston. I mean, granted, Houston, the injury to Sasser definitely hindered them, and we'll get to them later on in the show. But you're not bringing Memphis down off of that high, so that should be a really good, really fun 8-9 game, and Purdue should definitely be keeping an eye on that one.
I'm excited for that one.
They actually play right after Purdue on the 17th, so Purdue will definitely be keeping an eye on that one. Elsewhere in the East, that Duke Oral Roberts. I know everybody was scared to play Oral Roberts, but Duke is hot right now, and that pains me to say, but Duke is hot right now.
9 straight wins. That sucks for Oral Roberts. If they pull any other 5-seeded, probably them to win. Sucks for them, but I'm taking Duke in that game.
Yeah, I totally agree. Duke's just hot right now. You want to be hot going into the tournament, and that's kind of Duke right now, which does not surprise me that a lot of people see Duke and they pick them anyway. I think this year it's warranted. They're coming in hot. I could totally see them running through the top half of the East anyway.
100%.
And then bottom half of the East, there's like 2 games that like Providence, Kentucky. I feel like that'll be at least interesting.
Yeah. Should be interesting. Kentucky's again a very hit or miss team, so it kind of just depends if they're on or not. There's been smoke about Ed Cooley in Georgetown.
Yes,
so that could be a big deal there with Providence, back of their mind. So
yes,
their coach potentially leaving, so we'll see.
Yes, absolutely. And then the other, Kansas State, Montana. I think Kansas State shouldn't have too many issues there.
They should be able to easily handle that team.
Yeah, I think that next matchup, whether they get Providence or Kentucky, they could struggle a little bit. But I think Kansas State no problem with Montana State. I think Michigan State wipes the floor with USC. I'm a Pac-12 hater. So-called Pac-12 hater, as I just said. I pick Arizona every year, but I really don't get USC. I don't think they're all that good. I think the 10 seed reflects that. I thought they were a bubble team. I had people tell me that they were solidly in, but I don't know. I feel like Oklahoma State was better than them, but
I agree.
So 100% Tom Izzo in March at Michigan State's going to wipe the floor. And then my pick for coming out of the East was Marquette. I've been really impressed with this team.
They're scary.
They smoked everybody in the Big East tournament, and that is scary because the Big East is a very good conference, and Marquette just rolled. So I think
I was very impressed with that. Shaka Smart's really doing well there.
Yeah, for sure. I think Marquette's honestly probably the top pick to come out of the East. I think they're better than Purdue, and I would not be surprised with a Duke Marquette Elite Eight game there.
Not at all. That'd be a fun game too.
Oh, for sure. Two really hot teams potentially facing off at a chance at the Final Four. Moving on to the West. This to me might be the least interesting of the 4 regions. I'll be like,
agree. Yeah.
Kansas. I don't think Kansas has any. Kansas won't have any issues with Howard. I look at the 8-9 matchup, Arkansas Illinois. if Illinois wins, it's in Des Moines. Would there be more Illinois fans in Des Moines? Maybe, but I don't
Yeah,
think.
I think probably
I
not by a
I don't think it's
factor.
by a significant enough margin that it totally affects Kansas. Um, I Arkansas what
See,
last year was like a 3, and they've kind of fallen off this year. They're definitely still dangerous,
oh,
but I don't know if anyone looks
they're
at them
athletic.
the same. So
No, I agree. They're young and they are athletic, but
right,
they play out of control a lot. So I haven't watched a ton of their games. They're dangerous because of their athleticism, but they play out of control a lot.
young and out of control is exactly what Bill Self wants to hear. So I
Yep.
don't think that's a great matchup if you're Arkansas. Uh, I like UConn. I like UConn as a 4.
I do. I
I
really like UConn, unfortunately, because I don't like Hurley as their coach. I
right,
think he's kind of a dickhead.
right.
A really solid team.
Yeah, for sure. I could see either Kansas or UConn coming out. I don't particularly like Kansas, but and it's Kansas. I think it's Kansas or UConn in the top half, and then the bottom half. TCU in that 6-11 matchup, they get Arizona State or Nevada. I don't think Nevada should have been in either, but I really
I
don't think
agree.
Arizona State should have been either. So, I don't know.
Oklahoma State kind of got robbed there.
I think even without Eddie Lampkin, I think TCU wins that one. I think they probably get smoked by Gonzaga though.
Yeah, that's how I picked it too. A lot of people have them beating Gonzaga. I just don't see that
I
happening.
if Eddie Lampkin was there and there wasn't any of that controversy issues or anything going on, I think they probably do beat Gonzaga. But with all that stuff going on and Eddie Lampkin transferring out and all the drama and just kind of trying to want to get to the offseason at this point, I think Gonzaga
Yep,
probably beats them.
for sure.
And
I think
then
so too.
I don't know a whole lot about Northwestern Boise State, so to me that game's kind of just a toss up.
Yeah,
And then
Northwestern, I'm pretty sure has been known for their defense this year. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know every player on the roster.
right,
State, I couldn't tell you much about. I know they're a solid team in their conference, but I mean, there's a reason they're a 10 and not better, so
right.
they don't scare me all that
I
much.
know they don't have a blue court, which is disappointing given that they have a blue field.
Right? Oh,
So I honestly just on that Northwestern. Just so,
hey, yep.
and then UCLA. I think this is UCLA's half of the bracket to lose. I think they match up pretty well with everybody down here. That'll be a fun game if they get Gonzaga though.
It will be. They're out. Their best defensive player in Clark. He's
Yep.
out for the year.
Yep.
But they went in and had a great game with Arizona. Arizona ended up winning,
That was a great game.
but
I actually
it
bothered
was
to
a
stay up to
fantastic game.
watch that game. So that's how you know it was good. Um,
I was very impressed. So
so
they can make a run for sure.
for sure. I like I said, I do think this is kind of the most boring bracket. I think this is the most likely bracket that just ends up Kansas UCLA with Kansas going to the Final Four.
Yep.
Just the most
Yep.
chalk bracket. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. Any one of these 4 could go completely chalk, and any one of these 4 could have a 15 seed in the Elite Eight. So that's just how March
Right? Yeah.
Madness goes. Speaking of a 15 seed we want in the Elite Eight, Colgate.
Yes.
Can we beat Texas,
Please.
please?
Oh man,
As
that would be amazing. That'd be
uh, as we move on to the
imagine.
Midwest here, Houston's quadrant of the bracket. First off, before we go any further, Houston over Kansas for the number 2 overall seed.
Not a fan.
Did that bug anybody else?
I think
I mean, that
Kansas should
was.
have been the number one overall seed.
I thought Kansas should have been the number 1 overall seed too, but when they announced Alabama, I was like, okay, you know what? Fine, whatever. Then they announced Houston, and I was like, all right, what gives? What gives?
Right? Right?
Kansas lost to Texas. Houston lost to Memphis. I think they were the 2 and
Not like
3 beforehand anyway. So I think
they didn't put
losing
much
to
stock into this.
no, they did. The women's bracket that I went over yesterday proved that. But it's kind of like they took those Sunday games and just chucked them out the window and said, we figured this out Saturday night. We're fine. So I disagreed with it, but I think Houston, they'll beat North Kentucky. pretty easily, even without Sasser.
I hope so.
And then that next matchup without Sasser gets a little interesting if he can't play, because I know he was day-to-day and they kept him out of the championship game. I'm assuming that was just as a precaution.
Yeah, hindsight, I don't think if they won that, it would have done any different. I mean,
Right.
they weren't going to go from 2-1.
No.
So I don't blame them.
But they could get Auburn or Iowa. And I know Iowa fans are not happy with where this location is, because this game is being played in Alabama. And I'll be honest, I don't like Iowa, but I do totally sympathize with them for this. It seems like it seems like to me. Now, just hear me out here. They played in the Pinstripe Bowl in New York. They played Boston College. They play Auburn here in Birmingham, Alabama. They played. Jordan Bohannon was talking on Jordan and J-Bo, Jared and J-Bo on Iowa Everywhere. He's talking. They played Cincinnati and Columbus in the NCAA tournament a couple years ago. And I know Iowa State played the Liberty Bowl at Memphis, or against Memphis at Memphis. So
At Memphis.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like somebody's got something against the state of Iowa here.
Yeah, it sucks for them. I'm not gonna sit here and cry too much for Iowa because I don't like them.
That's fair.
I understand where their fans are coming from. Either way, Iowa City or in Auburn, I think Auburn wins this game. Maybe they'll come back and bite me in the ass, but I don't think Iowa has the defense to stop anybody in this tournament, really.
It totally comes down. I can't remember who said it. I think it was on one of the Iowa Everywhere shows. Go follow them, by the way. I can't remember who said it, but Iowa, it doesn't matter the team that they're playing up. Like, it doesn't matter who they're playing against. It doesn't matter how good the other team is. It's, does Iowa shoot 40% from three or not? If they shoot 40% from three, which, I mean, I think they shoot like 40%. If they hit 40, they're probably winning that game, regardless of how close or how big of a blowout it is. If they shoot 39%, they're losing that game by 20. So it just kind of depends. I think Auburn has a good enough team. Bruce Pearl, the head coach, will know. I would assume would know how to stop Iowa. But I think it's a really interesting game. I actually did have Iowa winning and then losing to Houston. But I think this is honestly the best 50-50 8-9 game other than Memphis FAU, which I don't even think should be an 8-9 game. So it'll be a fun one. I think Houston still comes out of that, makes the Sweet 16, and goes from there. The next group in the Midwest, though, Drake's making the Sweet 16, Nate.
I really hope they beat Miami. I really hope they beat
Miami's got an injury. I don't remember who it's to. They've got a couple injuries.
They got a guy. Their center.
Hurt.
He averages like 13 and 9.
Yeah, he is not a bad center. So,
Chris Hassel mentioned, I believe it was Chris Hassel mentioned, that without him, so take him out of the game, line moves in favor of Drake, or all the numbers move in favor of Drake. All their win percentage odds and stuff like that. So take him out of the game, and Drake is probably a favorite in that game.
I would be lying if I said I didn't have Drake in the Sweet 16, because I look at Indiana, Kent State, and I'm not all that impressed with Indiana. I know they've been kind of up and down this whole year, but frankly, I wasn't impressed with anybody in the Big Ten. So
no, neither was I.
So the Big Ten was the 8. So by the way, I believe Virginia is the highest ACC team at a 4.
I believe you're right.
And then Miami and Duke both got a 5. Outside of Purdue, I think Indiana the highest Big Ten team at a 4.
I think so. And then you have Iowa at an 8, Illinois at a 9, right?
Michigan State and Northwestern are both 7s. So the Big Ten and the ACC both very down this year.
They are.
So I think Drake's Sweet 16. It would not surprise me at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Iowa State versus Mississippi State and Pitt. Two very different teams.
Let's is that game off the half, by the way? Ooh, Mississippi State has taken the lead,
It is.
by the way.
They are up 2 right now.
Yeah.
So I right now probably am in favor of playing Pitt. They can't rebound. Are a very good defense. We can force them into turnovers. They have 4 turnovers right now in this game, and they're still losing. Iowa State really, really, really good at forcing turnovers. So
Yeah.
I think that's really something you can look for. I would not be mad with either team, though. Mississippi State cannot shoot the ball.
No.
Last in Division I in three-point shooting.
Yep.
So
I was actually
you can almost play.
just pulling up the Sean D, by the way, Wide Rat Natty Light statistician, Sean D. Posted the Ken Palm stuff for both these teams and like their schedules and everything. And yeah, Mississippi State 26.5% from 3. And also, by the way, good news for Cyclone fans, potentially. If we do get Mississippi State, they only shoot free throws at 65%. So
Goodness.
if we're going to get called for 25 fouls a game, like we always do, Mississippi State might only make 65% of them. So that's potentially a good bright side, too. Pitt shoots them at over 75%, which is top 40 in the country. So I know a lot of people were talking, comparing Mississippi State to an Oklahoma State, which I think is accurate, and also Pitt to Baylor, which I think is accurate. Iowa State went 2-0 against Baylor, or 3-0 against Baylor, and 0-2 against Oklahoma State. So I guess we want Pitt.
Yeah, right.
We were kind of talking a little bit before we started the show, and I also posted the question to Twitter to the masses, if you will, and I got 3 responses because I posted it right before we started recording. All 3 people said they wanted Pitt, and to go off of what you had mentioned with turnovers and rebounds. Rebounds right now is in favor of Mississippi State 33-17.
Wow.
And they've got 12 offensive boards to Pitt's 17 total boards. So it's very much a Iowa State-Baylor situation.
Yep.
That being said, watching this game, I am not upset with either team. I'm really not.
I'm not impressed with either team. So
No.
I'm really not. I'm not too scared.
No, and maybe I'm looking forward here, but I like Xavier as our 3. I think Xavier's the pretty clear weakest 3 to me.
100%.
And then, again, looking ahead and being a cocky prick, Texas and Kansas City. I would take that.
Yeah, me too. Let's hope Colgate knocks them out round 1. But if
Yeah.
it comes to it, give me Texas.
Yeah.
And Kansas City.
Yeah, no, I'd be totally fine with that. Or hear me out. Colgate doesn't beat Texas, but then Texas A&M does us all the favor, and then Texas A&M beats them. Just because Texas. Fun fact: if there's a fan base that's not Oklahoma or us that hates Texas the most, it's Texas A&M. The Aggies do not like Texas at all. So.
I would love for them to get knocked out right then. That'd be amazing.
I was really annoyed when the bracket came out and we were a 6, because I was like, I looked at Miami and I was like, I think we're better than Miami, and I looked at San Diego State as a 5, and I was like, man, I think we're probably better than San Diego State. And then Duke got a 5, and I was like, well, Duke's really hot, but they weren't very good the previous 2/3 of the season, and then St. Mary's won the West Coast Conference regular season and then choked it in the championship. So I was a little annoyed with us. I was a little annoyed with us being a 5 or being a 6 and not a 5. And then I saw the bottom half of the Midwest. I was like, oh, I can live with it.
I'll take that over being in Albany, New York.
Yes.
Greensboro seems
Yes.
better, and we get to play in Kansas City.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm not going to end up complaining too much. Also, we're playing a team that's going to have 2 days rest.
Yep.
Rest, whatever. What's today? Tuesday? Yeah,
Yeah,
so we'll have
Tuesday.
2 days rest before the game. And, I just think as much as we probably should have been a 5, I like this matchup better.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't want any part of Drake, who ended up being a 12. I didn't want any part of Oral
100%.
Roberts, who was a 12. I know people said we had a good matchup there, but I didn't want any part of Oral Roberts. I didn't want any part of Charleston, who ended up being a 12. So,
Some damn good 12 seeds.
I will say, though, question for the comments. This will be question of the day, a new segment that I'm doing just for this particular episode. Would you rather have, this is just general question, would you rather have the bubble Power 5, Power 6 school or the conference champ mid-major? Because I think that's a really interesting debate, because both the 11 and the 12 seeds, there's always, they were talked about it on the Iowa Everywhere stuff. There's always an 11 from Dayton that goes to the Final Four. So it's not like the 11 seeds never win. But the one that gets talked about all the time is the 12 over the 5, because it's always a mid-major. So would you rather play a mid-major conference champion or a Power 5, Power 6 bubble team? Let me know in the comments. Nate, do you have any final thoughts on the real quick, to end the show here, your Final Four prediction, first initial thoughts of the bracket, what's your Final Four here?
Give me Arizona.
Okay.
Me East is just so bad. Oh man. I'm gonna come back to the East in a minute.
Okay.
Give me Arizona. Houston. Oh, I hate picking against Iowa State. I'm gonna be realistic.
You're right.
I'm gonna put my realistic fan cap on there.
Your realistic hat.
Yeah. And go with Kansas. I know it's a boring pick. A bunch of 1, 2 seeds. Duke in the Final Four out of the East.
Okay, I like it.
5.
Do you have a champion out of those
Blue
4?
Bloods. Yeah, give me Houston over Arizona. Houston over Arizona.
All right. Well, this is by the way, we did not discuss the Final Four at all before this show. Give me Arizona out of the South, Houston out of the Midwest. I do differ from you slightly. Give me Marquette out of the East, and give me also. I know we discussed. Give me UConn out of the West. I don't know. I think UConn. UConn's it just feels right to pick UConn in March, even if I don't like their coach. It just kind of feels right. Sure. And then in the championship, give me Houston over Marquette. So
okay.
Both have Houston. I think Sasser is healthy. I think they just kept him out as a precaution. And I think Houston with a healthy squad is going to be just as good as anybody. So give me Houston over Marquette.
Let them play their game.
If the refs let us play our game, we might be in the Final Four.
Right? Yeah.
So Nate, do you have any final thoughts here? Pitt, Mississippi State, Iowa State, bracket as a whole.
Cyclones, fuck the Hawks.
I like
That's all
it.
I got.
I like it. That's gonna do it for Nate Scheelhaase Burner and myself. This has been DB Sports YouTube channel. Like Nate said, go Clones, fuck the Hawks. And also, as the last little bit here, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, helps me out a lot. It's completely free, and you can always undo it later. Be sure to comment your thoughts on the bracket and all of your teams and predictions down below. It helps out the algorithm a lot. And I will see you next time. Horns down.